And sorry, Jeff, you ready? Forgot to ask the important guy in the back. All right, welcome to the March 6th Village of Woodbury Planning Board meeting. I ask that you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Something I said, Tommy? All right, has the board had a chance to review the minutes from the February 21st meeting?
Yes.
All right, I'll offer a motion to accept those minutes as provided.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, little change in the agenda tonight. Everybody's still on it, just changing the order. First item, ARB 21 Vanderbilt, review and discuss draft resolution for ARB and ridge preservation for proposed pool enclosure. Said property is located at 21 Vanderbilt in Highland Mills and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, Section 245, Block 1, Lot 102. Do you have anybody here for 21 Vanderbilt? We can go without them, right? Yeah. All right. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I lost my page. Vanderbilt. All right. So just for the board's edification, there were a couple of red line changes that Attorney Norton made from the copy that you have. Should I just go over those? You want to go over those?
Your choice.
All right, I'll go over them. On page 1, covered porch at the front of the dwelling, interior renovations, and has been struck, so it's demolition and rebuild of rear deck. So it's construction of a pool enclosure and demolition of a rear deck. Everything else has been stricken from there. On page 2, a couple of the plans that were reviewed were removed. A bunch of them were removed.
That was because they withdrew that application
Right.
and they submitted the new one, so I had included all of the plans, including the past plans, but those didn't need to be in this resolution.
Thank you. The application was filed with the Village Building Department on or about, has been changed to August 14, 2023. Again, this is because the original application was withdrawn and they submitted an amended application for this board to review, which we did review. The GML 239 referral, the dates have been updated to reflect the new referral for the updated application. Okay, so then we get to the good stuff. Village Code 310-7 and Schedule of Zoning District Regulations for R2A. District permits a maximum development coverage of 20%. In connection with this project, the building inspector has determined that the existing development coverage was 20%, is a legally pre-existing non-conforming condition, and that no variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals was necessary, so the percentage was corrected. And then we get into the specific conditions. No building permit shall be issued authorizing construction of structures inconsistent with the architectural rendering submitted to and approved by the Architectural Review Board as part of this approval, nor shall any certificate of occupancy issue for any structures constructed except in conformance with such renderings. Any deviation from such renderings will require further planning board review. All encroachments onto the adjacent property, SBL 245-1-101, shall be removed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Number 3, no tree shall be removed on the construction of the deck and pool house enclosure. Number 4, prior to the issuance of a building permit, photographs of existing landscaping shall be provided to the building department. The building department shall not issue a building permit for the construction of the pool enclosure unless and until the rear deck has been removed. Any plan sheets showing a proposed deck in the rear of the dwelling are to be revised prior to the signing of the plan/renderings to remove said notations and structures. There shall be no habitable space within the pool enclosure, and it cannot be used as a residence or apartment of any sort. All new windows shall be constructed of or coated with non-reflective material. Anti-reflection window film will be applied to any new low E windows installed. Prior to the signing of the renderings, the applicant shall comply with the memorandum of the village engineer dated September 1st, 2024, to the satisfaction of the village engineer. The date was updated there. The approval is additionally conditioned upon the applicant delivering, prior to the issuance of any building permit, proof and copy of the final approved plans has been filed with the Orange County Department of Public Works, or proof that such filing is not required. I will offer a motion to accept the resolution as amended.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Woodbury Commons, Phase 5, review submission of draft environmental impact statement for completeness in accordance with the adopted scoping document as required under the State Environmental Quality Review Act associated with proposed to expand Woodbury Commons, including construction of hotel, development of a second parking garage, infill, and construction of 159,249 square feet of additional retail space. The property contains 149.2 plus or minus acres and is known as the village. Tax maps is Section 225, Block 1, Lot 70.2, and Section 226, Block 1, Lot 1. The property is located within the limited commercial, industrial business, light industry/office park, and hotel overlay districts. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear
It's
you.
on?
It's on.
It's on. Jennifer Kanarick from Price, Mead, Shulman, and Darmanelle on behalf of the applicant Simon Property Group for what is commonly known as the Woodbury Commons Premium Outlets. Just to update the board, we subsequently received, after submittal of our latest draft DSEIS, two reports one from your board engineer dated March 1st, and another one from your traffic engineer dated March 1st as well. We're here, I guess, to discuss whether or not it looks like one of the comments was that the application has been deemed incomplete by the board engineer, and I guess we're going to be discussing that further. And just so the board knows, this is the same plan that's been submitted, I just show it for visual purposes.
Okay. All right. As the applicant stated, we do have reports from our environmental consultant, traffic consultant, and H2M. The traffic consultant and environmental consultant has accepted the scoping doc. H2M did issue a fairly lengthy memo that James is now going to read to us line by line.
Wait a minute, I was like, no, he's not, he is not, I can nip that one in the bud.
I think I was threatened before the meeting about doing it.
Why don't I just jump in?
Why don't you jump in there?
Okay, so I also reported to the board that I had no further comments on this, but there are comments that you've received from H2M. So based on those comments, I reviewed those and I looked at the DSEIS as well. What I would recommend is that for tonight, the document not be deemed adequate for public review, but have the applicant, when they submit their next version of it, have it be the text of the document in Word version, so that, or it doesn't have to be in Word, but so that you can see red line changes. That way you'll be able to easily go through, see that those H2M comments are addressed, and you don't have to re-review the entire document to see if something else has changed. I think that's where we are at this stage. It's really close to that level where it can be deemed adequate for public review, but I think that there's a few comments in the H2M memo of items that are missing that doesn't comply with your scope. So that would be my recommendation, is that right now it is not adequate for public review, but if the applicant could provide that in a red line form for you, you can move forward when.
Yeah, and we just need the red line of the changes that we don't need all the appendices and everything else
Right.
all over again, or reprinted. Or
If they're adding appendices or something, then those should be provided.
I mean, of course, if an appendix or something changed, then we'll
Yeah,
need
there
that.
is an additional appendix item that was requested by the engineer, so that would be the only item.
Okay.
But just for purposes of clarification, there are some items listed in the report that I believe our engineer, could briefly, discuss with regard to some further explanation, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Fred Munt with PS&S Engineers. A couple of the comments, I think a majority of the comments that are remaining in the report are generally more housekeeping. I think there are items that are, and information that have been provided within the report, just maybe need to come forward to a specific location to make it a little bit more readable. There were a few more substantive items that we will assuming the board's okay, and so we will look to discuss directly with Mr. Moran to provide the adequate information in an expedited fashion. A few of those are related to stormwater in terms of water quality, evaluation of existing water sources, inspection of existing stormwater management facilities, providing additional information on GLA and prior approvals with the project. There were a few more as well with related to solar panels, building variances for building heights with the parking garage. Am I missing anything else? I think that's most of it.
Okay.
So I think most of those can be done without, I think that's, I mean, I reviewed the comments. Most of them are non-substantive, but should be changed at this time to make my review at the end a little bit easier. Would be great. But some of them are, like the applicant said, a bit more substantive. But I think they're pretty clear in Jim's memo as to, all right, it's not here, so it's somewhere else, and it just like needs to be cut and pasted here. Or
Right.
what are, I'll use the example that I was thinking of earlier. There had to be a list of the MS4 requirements, and that wasn't in there. So MS4 requirements, they can easily get
Right.
from them, put that in there. So I think that's kind of where we are.
Right, so stick with the normal process of
Stick with the
review.
normal process. If there's an issue, let me know, but I don't think that there should be at this point.
Okay. Does the board have any comments, feedback? We sure we don't want to have H2M's memo read to us line by line in Italian?
It's raining, where you're going to go?
In Italian, right? Or could you do it in Latin?
Oh,
That'd
Italian.
even better if he did it in Latin.
I will come with a voice translator, so.
What I will offer to you is that we will be having a meeting on the 3rd of April, I think, or the 6th. I may be getting the date wrong. In order to comply with the public scoping session for Avalon. So if you guys can get everything done in a timely fashion,
Yep.
then there's a distinct possibility you could be on that agenda and we could move this along. But
Absolutely, we will do our darndest best,
that would be up to you guys.
certainly.
Oh,
Understood.
We actually have to make a motion on that, right, Kelly, to?
I think it would make it clear.
Okay, so I'll offer a motion based on consultants' comments that we deem the DEIS not ready, for public review.
Not fit. I'll second that.
Questions? All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll see you
Thank
soon.
very much, Chairman, members of the board. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, chugging along. Avalon Hotel, initial review of scoping document and schedule for a scoping session for proposed 4-story, 130-room hotel at 94 Turner Road in Central Valley. Said property is known in the Village of Woodbury tax map, Section 226, Block 1, Lot 5, and 6.2. I actually think this is the first time you guys have been here since we've been back in person, right? I feel like
We
this
might
is
have been
all.
here once last year.
One, okay, I was going to say,
Yeah.
almost everything else was, I remember, was virtual.
Yes. Well, good evening, Chair, members of the board, staff and consultants. Christy Adana from Silverberg Zelantis. We also have here this evening David Higgins from Lankin Tully, the engineers, and Paul Oliveira on behalf of the applicant. As the chair alluded, we have been before you sporadically for quite a while now, and we're very excited to be back with the prospect of moving this forward. As you may recall, we are proposing a 130-room hotel on Turner on Turner Road. One of the issues that we had to overcome in the past was before the zoning board regarding the potential merger of the two tax lots, which are separated by Turner Road, and we did get a favorable determination from the zoning board on that back in March of 2020. I think it was one of the last meetings when things were in person. And so now we are here before the board. Lankin Tully's office has prepared a draft scoping document with the expectation that this application will receive a positive declaration, which will require the preparation of an environmental impact statement under SECRA. The applicant is ready and willing to proceed down that path, hence the draft scoping document for your review. I understand that there are some initial comments from the board and potentially from the consultants. We'd be happy to hear them and go through them tonight. Or we can wait until the public scoping session, whatever you prefer. But we'll make sure that whatever version you would like us to have for presentation at the scoping session is available and available to the public. So what we're asking for tonight is for the board to issue the positive declaration in order to be able to move the process forward. And as the chair mentioned earlier in relation to the last application, we were hoping for the planning board to schedule the public scoping session for April 3rd. And if you have any questions about the project, I'll turn it over to you.
So to answer your first question, the board is going to look to have consolidate the consultant's comments into the scoping document that you guys had submitted, and we're going to have that all together for the public scoping session. So we'll handle that all in the same night.
So you would be comfortable with going forward with the public scoping session based upon what we've already submitted, and so we won't need to make any additional submissions in order to facilitate that?
Well, you'll have to incorporate the consultant's comments in, but yes. So with what you have plus the consultant's comments, we'll be comfortable to move forward to the public scoping session.
Yeah, so far what we've received in terms of the comments are pretty minor changes to the scope. We certainly can have that revised and resubmitted by next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think when we looked at the comments.
I'm like, no, I don't want to resubmit.
No. You just, go ahead, Kelly.
Only because Dave was like, oh, we can submit it again. No, I don't want to know when. I want to make sure that what's up on the website is the draft scope that the applicant, am I talking right into it this time? Okay.
There you go.
Last time I guess wasn't. I want to make sure that the draft scope that's up on the website is the one that the public is reviewing, so there's comments on that. And I think I'll go over a couple of other things, but just since we're talking about this, that the consultants give their comments, but that they be incorporated into an easy red line for the board to see. Typically what I do when there's something like that is I try and coordinate with the consultants and I make those changes in a red line version. I send that to the applicant in advance as well so that they can, see it and object, not object, agree, make changes, whatever. So everybody can work on that, but I think it's important to get the public's comments too. And since there's a short turnaround time under state law for the adoption of a scope, it's important that the public have the one that you guys are working off of. So eventually you're working off of the draft scope provided by the applicant. Eventually you will adopt your own scope. And on that note, the applicant so you're required to adopt a scope within 60 days of it being submitted. I did speak with the applicant. The April 3rd date is a couple days past that, but they've agreed that that's acceptable. Can I keep going? Can I keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, so the applicant talked about a couple of requests tonight, and I understand that I sent these documents out, but I am hearing that a couple of my emails did not go through last week, which I actually did these early, so I'm a little annoyed that my emails didn't go through. But I prepared for the board a draft FEIF Part 2. The FEIF Part 2 is really what the POS deck is based upon. So I just want to go over that with you. If you have any questions or revisions, let me know. And if you did receive it, that's awesome, and I'm super excited. Tommy's looking like he got it. So the first one, I'll just
Yeah,
go
no,
over
I'm trying to
briefly.
pull it up because I know you just sent it to me.
Yeah. So per my normal practice, if there's a little arrow on the right-hand side, that indicates that it's a small impact rather than no impact. So I'll just go over this as quickly as I can. So impact on land was yes, and there were 3 potentially small impacts, and that was the proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet. The proposed action may involve construction that continues for 1 year or in multiple phases, and the proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether by physical disturbance or vegetation removal, including treatment by herbicides. There were no impacts on geological features. Impacts on surface water was yes, and there were 2 potential small impacts. And just so the board knows, even if they're identified as small impacts in here, the applicant is going to be preparing an EIS. So the small impacts have to be addressed the same depth that a moderate to large impact is. So there were 2 potential small impacts. The proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or banks of any other water body. And the proposed action may involve soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies. Impact on groundwater was yes. There were two potentially moderate to large impacts, and that's A and B. The proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells. And B, the water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rate of the local supplier aquifer. Obviously, the village is in a moratorium, so that is the source. 5, impact on flooding was yes, and there were 3 potentially small impacts. The proposed action may result in development within a 100-year or 500-year floodplain, and the proposed action may result in or require modification of existing drainage patterns. Impacts on air was no. Impacts on plants and animals was yes. The proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by New York State or the federal government. Impact on agricultural resources was no. Impact on aesthetic resources was yes. Potential small impacts of there being similar projects within 0 to 5 miles. And the proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. And then several potential moderate to large. The situation or activity in which viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work, recreational, or tourism-based activities, seasonally and year-round. And then the proposed action may cause a diminishment of the public enjoyment or appreciation of the designated resource. Does anybody have any questions so far, or can I keep going? Okay. Number 10 was the impact on historic or archaeological resources. That was yes. Potential small impact. The proposed action may occur wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory. Impact on open space and recreation was no. Impact on critical environmental areas was no. Impact on transportation was yes. There were 2 potentially moderate to large, that the projected traffic may exceed the capacity of the existing road network, and other impacts decrease the level of service at 2 intersections to F. And then a potentially small impact was the proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. Impact on energy was yes. All of the responses were no, but the proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. Impact on noise, odor, and light was yes. There were 2 potentially small impacts. The proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation, and the proposed action may result in lighting creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions. Impact on human health was no. Consistency with community plans was yes, which actually means no. And there were 3 potentially moderate to large impacts that may occur. The proposed actions, land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns. The proposed action may cause a change in density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure or distant from existing infrastructure. The proposed action is located in an area characterized by low density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure. And then consistency with community character was yes, which actually means no. And there were 2 potentially moderate to large impacts, that the proposed action is inconsistent with the predominant architectural scale and character, and the proposed action is inconsistent with the character of the existing natural landscape. That was it.
Community resources we talked about.
Okay, yeah. So there should be a change. Let me just insert an arrow where it's consistency with community character, and B, the proposed action may create a demand for additional community resources, schools, police, and fire. And those were the part 2. So if nobody has any other changes to that, you can adopt that as modified. I don't know if the applicant had any.
Anybody have any changes to it?
It's pretty much already covered in the draft scope, so.
Okay, so I'll offer a motion to accept the EAF Part 2 as modified tonight. Second, questions? All in favor? Aye.
Okay, and next I prepared for you a draft positive declaration. The draft positive declaration indicates that an environmental impact statement is going to be prepared because you've identified several potential significant adverse environmental impacts. And the reasons supporting that determination are every single thing that I just read off and the one that you added. So I will not reread them for you. So I will make that change. And if that is acceptable, you can make a motion to issue a positive declaration.
So I'll offer a motion to issue a positive declaration with the modification that Kelly just spoke about.
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and last but not least, you did receive the draft scope from the applicant. Like I said, you just need a you need a public scoping session.
Right.
And
And then we're just going to
set
ask them to submit a red-lined version of, no.
I will
You will do
submit
it?
a red line version to the board that incorporates the consultant's comments. The board, if you have any comments, obviously have them ready. We can make those changes that night. We'll try and have it in as final a form as possible. And that red line version I would also provide to the applicant so they know what you're considering. But the public is going to be working off of the one that was online. So hopefully, whatever comments they have, the consultants will have picked up on and will be included. But they could come up with something that we're unaware of. We've seen that happen before to be incorporated.
All right. So then with that, I will offer a motion to hold a public scoping session for the Avalon Hotel on April 3rd.
Second.
Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you in April.
See you in April.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Last but certainly not least, are you here for 21 Vanderbilt?
Aye.
Are you here for 21 Vanderbilt?
You did read that.
You're done.
You're already done.
You're done. You're done.
You're good.
Yeah, I thought so. Timber Trail, review and discuss draft resolution for amended subdivision, ARB and ridge preservation of proposed single-family dwellings located within a previously approved subdivision on Hollick Court in Highland Mills. Said property is known as the Village of Woodbury tax maps as section 237, block 2, lot 5 through 11. We saved the best for last.
Good evening. Larry Hartman, Hartman Design, representing my client for the Timber Trail project. I believe this was on 2 meetings ago. At that point, we discussed this project. I believe the public hearing was closed at that point. There was, at that meeting, particularly the board discussed our comparison to the neighboring development, and one of the biggest issues was that the board argued that I showed only 2 houses, which might be bigger than the rest of the houses. I did provide a full list of all the houses of the neighboring lot, including square footages, lot sizes, pictures of everything, and basically after doing that, basically the reason I always show only the 2 bigger houses, usually this is a common way that if there's 2 houses already on X size, a certain size, usually additional houses that size or a little bit smaller will not affect the area. So you usually show the 2 biggest houses. But in fact, after I did now provide all the houses, it turned out that the houses that I used the comparison, one was the biggest and one was probably more on the lower side, the 7 or 8 out of 14 houses. So I don't know if the board saw that.
Yep.
It has everything. Additionally, I know in the previous meeting, the board also said that the other houses may be bigger, so that I believe that answers that all the houses are approximately that size, besides just one which is completely smaller. Additionally, we didn't know the lot size at that point. I did not have it on my table. The board argued that maybe that houses on that development, the lots are much bigger, therefore they have bigger houses. It turns out, after putting that table, that not only is it not bigger, in fact, most of the lots, our minimum lot is 30,000 square feet, and the lots on that development, some are 22, 23, 24. I believe more than half of it is less than 24,000 square feet, which is dramatically smaller than the minimum that our house, our cul-de-sac has. I did put all the lot sizes on the table. Additionally, the board had an issue with the one house that is already built, and which is dramatically smaller than the rest of the proposed. And that also turns out, after giving all the information, that neighboring cul-de-sac also happens to be one house, which was also approved, even smaller than our house, which makes this two cul-de-sacs extremely similar, each of them having the same size houses, or that one even bigger, and the smallest being smaller than we have. Additionally, I showed photos of everything, showing just the outside look of each of the houses compared to, from the neighboring cul-de-sac compared to our cul-de-sac, dividing it by the smallest, medium, a larger, so you can actually see. And now that I saw all the houses, it turns out, if you can take a look at the photos, you'll see that the houses on that lot are basically built on a wide, so they look humongous, they look much bigger, they look like a bigger mansion, versus the houses we're proposing on our cul-de-sac is built more in depth, therefore it looks much more compact and much smaller. Basically, to me, those two cul-de-sacs are a carbon copy, besides that lots being a little bit smaller. They're all off the same road. Basically, if you go into the proposed cul-de-sac, you'll see the neighboring cul-de-sac now when there's no leaves. You'll just see the neighboring cul-de-sac behind it. They're all off the same road, and I believe they're basically, again, we're not going bigger than theirs, we're actually going a little bit smaller. Our smallest is a little bit bigger than their smallest. I believe they're more or less a carbon copy, with us being bigger lots and all of that. Now that I have done all the research and I have provided it, again, I would have done it if I would have been asked to do it. I didn't know that that will help. I thought I'll just show two houses, but now that I did all the research and drew out every house and having the exact square footage of each house, I think it just looking at the table, it's basically a carbon copy of the proposed cul-de-sac.
Okay. Well, Larry, I appreciate you submitting all that information and doing that research. This board also did do a little bit more research. What we did prepare was our code, when we're doing comparisons, says it's 300 feet from the property lines. So we had H2M put together a map of the area showing the 300-foot boundaries from the property lines. So you can see it encompasses a section of Sherwood Court. Now also encompasses a section of the condos that are actually in Timber Ridge. We can take out, of course, the commercial property because that doesn't count here. And we also put in it also encompasses a couple of the original homes on 32. So that is a requirement of the code, that when we determine similarity or dissimilarity in the neighborhood, that we do 300 feet from the property lines. So that's what we went and did to show that we did our due diligence as well. With that, I will say we plagiarized part of your document.
What is that?
We plagiarized. We borrowed part of the documentation that you had submitted. Sorry, liberated, borrowed.
I just thought I did. I'm like, wow.
So the ones in green are the homes that actually fall within the 300-foot boundary from the property line. Didn't even bother to put the Timber Ridge condos in there because those are considerably smaller, and we already know they look considerably different from the homes that are there. So when we do that, we can still see that the homes that you're proposing, while not as large, are still larger than the one home at 6 Sherwood being the largest home there. So the homes that are being proposed in this neighborhood, compared to the ones in Sherwood, still larger, and compared to Lot 8, the home that was already built, considerably larger. Again, we could also, I don't think we don't need to make the comparison to the condos in Timber Ridge. I think that's pretty self-explanatory that the homes being proposed are much larger and aren't the same as the homes in the condo section of Timber Ridge. if you pull into the 3 or 4 homes that are on 32, those homes, again, are smaller homes or with different architectural style. I will agree with you that on Sherwood Drive, the reason those big homes don't look as massive is because those lots, unlike the lots that you're working on, are wider. They're not as deep, but they're much wider. So I hate to use your house as an example, but the house that you have a wide lot. So your home doesn't look as big because of the size of the lot that it's on. It's, a large home, wide lot, kind of blends into the area up there. Here, decent sized homes, narrow but deep lots. To me, it makes the homes
Lot
look
tighter.
and they look larger and more pronounced, and then out of the character with the rest of the neighborhood or the comparisons that we're trying to.
Plus the garages.
And yeah, that was the last thing. So I think and I live in a similar neighborhood as Sherwood, and I've driven through Sherwood Court. They probably thought I was stalking the place, and probably I didn't get the cops called on me. I think, and again, I'm going to borrow your document because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel here. I just had it pulled up too. This one. So the homes on Sherwood, and I think one of the big hangups, or things that really draw my attention to the homes that you designed that make them look much larger and a little bit out of character, is the homes on Sherwood all have the garages tucked back to the side, like under, I guess you want to say under the house almost. Not really, but
Okay.
when you look at the homes, your comparison, to me, it's the garage that really throws me off there. Like, it's just this big, massive block with this big door.
Which one?
It's just Model A.
Model A compared to
Models. The garages are all in the front in your 3 models, right?
Yeah.
Can we agree on that? The garages are all in the front? And even on the one that's already in that neighborhood, the garage in that house is on the side. It's under I don't want to say under the house, but it's in the side of the house.
And that creates what?
To me, it creates a dissimilarity. It makes the homes look bigger than they are. I don't know if the garage.
To the front makes it look bigger.
Well, maybe there's a way, and I'm obviously not an architect, but the board is required to evaluate, the exterior facade of these in terms of mass, building materials, roof line, style, things like that. Is there a way maybe to, like you used Mr. Hartman's house, to maybe design
And we're not picking on you, sorry.
No, that was a gorgeous house. It's a good example. Rick would be proud. I'm picking a good example. Is there a way maybe to architecturally design it, whether it's shifting the garage to the side or whatever, that would make it appear less in mass, that maybe the board would be happier with? I mean, I know that you can design houses in a different way, maybe to make it appear smaller or make it not appear as obtrusive or dissimilar as the way that you're seeing it now. And maybe Mr. Hartman would know that answer.
Again,
There's-
doing designing for houses, I would say our company has done probably in the thousands. Doing a garage at the front usually makes the house look much more compact because it breaks up all those large windows and everything. Just take a look at the comparison on these 3 compared to the 1. It breaks it up and makes it look much smaller. Another thing that does when you have the garage on the side, it makes the driveway a lot bigger because you have to, first of all, go deeper into the lot because it's further in, and then you have to do all those turns. To me, those things makes a house look much more mansionish and much more bigger and grand and everything. Usually when you put a garage, particularly, let's say Model C has a window above the garage. Let's say Model B doesn't have it. It makes it look like a house with a garage attached to it. That is what breaks up a house a lot. Take a look, Model A, for example. They're all the same sizes, but one looks those 3 look massive compared to the Model A. The reason is those large windows, and also the garage is narrow. Oh, it's only one garage, so it's only 12 feet wide. The minute you turn it on the other side, it has to be the long side. That's why those houses look much bigger, because they're the long side, which is usually 20, 22 feet, instead of using the depth of the house. The minute you turn it out, it's another 10 to 12 feet, and plus driveway on that side. So
But on these lots, which are longer instead of wider, that 10 or 12 feet may actually make sense. Because you're looking at...
Again, most of them are approximately the same width. Ours are longer also because, remember, they're much bigger. They're a good 25% bigger. Most of the lots over there are 20,000. That's not 20,000.
But they're configured differently.
Correct.
They're
Oh.
rectangles they're long ways instead of depth
If you
ways.
can move back to that, if you take a look, for example, 10, where the house sits, is, if you look at it by eye, compared to 6, which is probably the narrowest lot on this development, it just happens to be, it's longer because it has an additional 10,000 square feet, but the width of it is approximately the same, correct? If you take a look at 14, where the house sits, yeah, in the back it's bigger. Take a look at 16, where the house is, if you just put your finger there, it's approximately the same. Ours is longer also because it has additional square footage. But take a look at 7, that's, 1, 6, 4. Remember, those lots some of them are 20,000, 21,000, 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. They're 2/3 if mine is minimum 30, some are 32, but the minimum 30, that's the requirement, and they're 20, that's about, that's only 2/3 of the actual lot. So by width, they're approximately the same, just has an additional on the back. But the houses are also not as wide. My house, the one we're proposing, is not as wide as the ones that are there, correct? Again, we can go pinpoint everything has its ups and downs, but overall, anybody driving through Timber Trail when this will be built up, and Sherwood Court will be 2 identical, similar. Any bank will use that as a comp. It's off the same road, has the same neighboring multifamily, same amount of lots approximately. This has 9, this has 14. They're very similar. Some are bigger lots, some are small, some are wider houses. Overall, they fit in. Now, this is not zoning. We're not asking for a variance. Basically, we're following everything the code, the local zoning allows. It's just a matter of this is going to fit in this area. After this is going to be built up, driving to Sherwood, driving to Timber Trail, they're going to be different. No 2 houses are alike. Some are going to have the garage at the front, some are going to have to the side. But they're going to be basically the same idea. In my opinion, even Sherwood looks much more massive because of those driveways to the side, because of the width of the houses, because of the smaller lots, and all of that. But overall, naked eye will not recognize those small differences. That's just, again, if you want me to turn the garage on the side, I'll turn it on the side and just add more pavement and everything, but we have enough lot coverage. It's not a problem. But to me, they're just the grass, straight driving, it's much needed. But if that's what does it, I'll definitely do it, no problem.
So here's the thing for the board. So you have to take action within 62 days of the close of the public hearing. That action is tonight unless the applicant agrees to extend that time period. What I've prepared for you, you have a draft resolution of approval and you have a draft resolution of disapproval. I think you need to see if you want this and if the applicant would agree to this, seeing either an alternative configuration or, Chris, you said the size, so I just pulled up the green list. Maybe something slightly smaller that still fits in with the sizes of Sherwood Court to make it not excessively dissimilar or excessively similar. The one that is there that is the largest is 6, which is 2,500 in total footprint, and then Model B exceeds 2,500. So again, you should be making a decision tonight unless you agree to extend that time frame to try and see different configurations or see if the applicant is willing to make some revisions to this. It's up to the board, but I just wanted to give you some options. And I've reviewed the provisions that you review this under previously as well as tonight, so if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Just looking at the green one, you have 6397.
He shows us,
That's the biggest one is
Side garages.
6579. That's about,
if he agrees to extend, comes back showing us
yeah, total.
what the side garage.
6397 is still green.
I take it from there.
Total square footage.
And we're looking at the footprint.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
first
that's
house
the first
there.
house.
That's the original approval.
Yeah, and yes,
Different configuration.
42,000,
43,000, yeah.
that's the biggest spot, right?
So are you okay if the applicant agrees, Evan, if he moves them to the side? What do you?
I still,
You may decide you don't like it, but maybe.
I mean, I'm still struggling with the size. Like we just talked about, the largest lot on that list is an acre and is the smallest house.
Right, this, in a new development, the
In a
Holland
new
Court,
development.
is an acre lot with the smallest house.
Right.
And then the smaller lots have bigger homes.
Right.
Is what you're getting.
But if
I mean, Larry, it's up to you. Do you want to?
If you believe that is gonna make a big difference, to me, it's gonna look much wider, just gonna add another 12 feet to the house. Just taking that single garage and putting the long side this side, I can do it, I'll make it, I have no problem. But in my opinion, based on design, just putting windows, it's just gonna make it look much, much bigger. Just think about it, just adding width, always, the wider it is, the bigger, massive it looks, and bulky but
I
I'll do it.
think one of the things the board's struggling with, like Chris said, is the width of the lot and the houses that are going on. So it seems a lot smaller on the lot, even though the lot size is correct, compared to Howell Court, correct?
Right, but overall, we looked at it, overall, their width is approximately the same. I would say, if you want me, I can provide you a table which gives the size of the lot minus the width, the size of the lot minus the size of the house, how much is left on the two sides of each of them, of my proposed and theirs.
Well, I mean, I think on,
I think
on,
there'll be-
on,
I
on
think there'll
yours,
be-
when we looked at the plot,
Yeah.
some of your houses are right now are right up against the setbacks. I think the setbacks are 40 feet on the sides. I'm not 100%, so I think most of the houses are at 40 feet or like 41, 42. Like you're right on the setback lines there. So I mean, I don't know if you really can even go wider at that point.
Okay. But remember that
I could be wrong. I got a lot of applications floating around in my head, but
it maybe I can't do wider on some of the lots, but how is it called? But definitely, you look the net of the smaller houses. Let's even say some of my lots are not as wide as the other ones, but the
Right.
houses are smaller. What is left on the two sides versus on those ones that's maybe a little bit wider, most likely not, and because the house is wider, they both are left exactly the same. The net, it's not, they're probably the same. Because remember, that was 2013, they didn't have as wide setbacks.
right.
So they were able to do wider, that's why they have wider houses. Now there's much bigger setbacks, which means you have to be more away from the neighboring lots.
Right.
And that's why the houses
And
are more.
the net lot changed, calculation, the steep slopes changed as well between then and now too.
Correct. Again, that's why probably they have much smaller lots, was because now you can't do that. You can't have a lot 20,000 square feet anymore. I guess, I didn't check, but I guess that was okay then.
Why can't we go with 5,000 square feet, which is versus 6? I mean, it's the one that's there now is,
44.
and we're comparing what's there now.
And I also just want to remember, I mean, we're focusing on Sherwood Court, but Sherwood Court shouldn't be the main focus here. You have to look at, that's why I went,
Yeah, it's not under 300.
that's why, well, part of it is. So some of those the greenhouses are in. You know, that's why I had, you know, Jim use his little cool marker and give us a 300-foot boundary for us.
I'm just saying, the first one is 4,000 on a 42,000 square foot lot. I can't see why they all have to be 6,000 when the lots are smaller. I could see a 5,000, which is still larger than the one that's built. Why do they all have to be 6?
I agree.
Again, as I said, the client wants to build this to the same cul-de-sac as the neighbor. They want it to be, that's a nice cul-de-sac.
When we're talking about similarities, you have one that's built there on the largest lot, and it's 4,000 square feet.
So if you take a look at that neighboring lot, a neighboring cul-de-sac, they also have a house that was approved for 4358, even less than what I have on this Holocaust court, and it still got approved. And that's a normal procedure that has been done until now,
But-
where there's multiple sizes and multiple approvals. It's a carbon copy. It
But also
has
in
a smaller-
2013, I'm not going back, I don't remember what all the laws were in 2013 too. So we're comparing with the criteria that we have in front of us.
Again, if that's the case, the same owner still owns that house. We'll build an addition, it'll be exactly the same. If you want it to be carbon copy to that
No, we-
house versus to the other one.
Don't want carbon copies. It's about excessive similarity.
Similarity,
excessive
dissimilarity. But
dissimilarity.
you'll drive through this development, I don't think we're gonna match 7 houses
I don't think anybody's asking you to match 7 houses.
to one particular house, which means the client, again, he fits by the zoning, fits by everything. The only thing is, in order to fit in, to deny him something that it doesn't fit based on a single house that's on that he also
But we're not
owns.
basing it on a single house.
well, let's-
We're clearly showing you there's
There's other things, and I just want to get back to, right now, yes, he's allowed to have single-family houses, but saying that it complies with everything right now is not accurate. It may comply with the bulk regulations, but you do have to get past this ARB
Right.
issue.
I'm just talking about it complies with zoning.
Right, so I just wanted to make that
Sorry.
But
part.
we're not looking at, this board's not looking at the zoning right
No,
now.
no,
We're
not right
looking at
now.
the architectural review.
I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Correct.
So,
Again,
but I think what the board is asking is, first, if you are willing to maybe come up with a similar design, but somehow try and make either the garage on the side or make it look less, when you're looking at it, I'm going to say massive, but I just really want to use the word mass. And it sounds like Rich is asking maybe if there's a way that any of them can be smaller. I think that might be something that you have to talk to your client
Especially on
about.
lots that are long, you know, like, what's that lot? 2, 3, 5?
Here, 3 and 5?
Yes, 7, I can see the bigger house, but all these lots are long and narrow.
So really, at this point, Larry, the ball is up to you. If you're willing to make some changes from the board's feedback and want to extend the deadline, you can agree to that, and you can do that, and you can come back to us. Or the board can act tonight with the information that it has and the consensus of the board and go forward. So, I mean, it's really, at this point, what do you want to do? Do you want to sharpen your pencil and come back with something different, or do you want the board to act tonight? Because otherwise, I think we're just going to get into a very circular conversation tonight, and it's not going to be beneficial to anybody.
again, obviously, I can see the board as, again, to me, I'll just repeat it again, I don't expect anything. It's a carbon copy. The board wants to see it compared to the house next to it. Again, I'll come back. I don't think, again, it probably is going to include an addition of that particular one because I see the board bothers much that this one particular house is smaller. I can see it, I heard it a couple of times during the day. It'll include both. Maybe revision. If the board let me know if you want the garage to the side, I can maybe do that in a couple of houses. But again, that's my opinion. It's just going to look worse. It's going to be wider. But if the board wants that, is that what the board want to see? Maybe an option of that?
I don't think that's a bad idea, garage on a couple of them on the side. And just see if we could, the narrower lots, lessen up.
Okay. On top of that, I'll show a comparison table, the width of those lots compared to that. I know, yeah, I've heard it twice.
I'll have
today.
the building department send this to you so you know what we're working off of,
See it.
because this
Yeah.
is what we're,
Correct? So 16, 14, 12, 10, 8. And I'll extend for that.
I don't want it to be an unextended.
No,
an
I want it open-ended.
Unending, thank you. I'm like an unextended, yeah, an open-ended deadline, but I'm not sure when you'd be able to get those in, so I would say probably 2, just depending, to give him some time to do this, to April 17th, because I'm not sure he wants to be on that meeting that we just,
I don't think he wants to be in that meeting.
yeah. I think he'll-
April 17th. So if you need to submit anything, at least 2 weeks before, is that going to be the deadline as well? So April 7th.
Would be
what day
the
was it?
5th,
The deadline would be April 3rd or April 5th?
4th.
April 4th.
But you can, we're not giving you that as a hard and fast date. If you tell us you want to May,
Correct.
then we can give you the.
I'll try to get on the April 13th, but I would extend it to at least another one as far as what the board has to vote.
We just extend it to the May meeting. if you
So we'll give you the
want
May
to do
15th then?
Yeah.
This way, if you get it in beforehand, then
If I get it in beforehand.
we'll put you on the
if
last
not,
meeting in April.
correct.
If not, you have to the May.
Yeah, correct, because if not, it has to.
Yeah, I know there's.
You have, we don't need a motion on that, so.
It should be recognized that the applicant is extending the time frame. Oops, sorry. It should be recognized that the applicant is agreeing that the time frame within which the planning board needs to take action after the close of the public hearing is extended until May 15th.
Duly noted.
Thank you. And my mic was on.
All right. We'll see you then, or before then. No further, actually, never actually did it. Make a motion to schedule a meeting for April 3rd. I know we actually have a document, we never actually.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to schedule a meeting for
Second.
April 3rd. Second question. All in favor?
Aye.
Being no further business before the board, I'll offer a motion to close.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.